everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I do videos based on faith and lifestyle, and today I have a lifestyle video and I'm here with a special guest, Rachel. So Rachel and I actually went to the same school for a little bit, and I'll let her tell a little bit more about herself. But today I just want to talk to her a little bit about her health and fitness journey and just what's been going on in her life in regards to her faith and all those different types of things. So if you want to learn more about Rachel and her health and fitness journey, stay tuned. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was born in Clare, Michigan, and I moved around a lot growing up. So I kind of ricocheted between Michigan, Florida, and Indiana, and then ended up in Kentucky for school.
Yeah, awesome. And you just graduated, right?
I did.
Okay, what did you tell them what you graduated in, if you don't mind?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I graduated with my Master's of Divinity. It was a 4-year degree at Asbury Theological Seminary.
Yeah. So Rachel, I've actually, I saw her, even before she graduated, I would just see her around, and I don't know, there was a point where I just really felt like she caught my attention. I just saw her, intentionality in a lot of things. She probably was doing that before, but I don't know if it's God put her on my radar, I don't know. But I've just been super, inspired by your journey and just watching you from day to day, and even, seeing you, run around the campus, I'm, super inspired by that. And I've been talking to my channel about health and fitness and why it's so important to me, and even the journey of me trying to be free from certain things that I feel like are strongholds, like food and just things that I've just really struggled with my whole entire life. So you and a few others have just been really inspiring to me, and yeah, that's really the gist. I really want to have a sit-down conversation with you. So I think that I will probably learn a few more things too, just having this conversation. So I want to just first start off with you telling us a little bit, or just telling us about your health and fitness journey, and you can start from wherever you like with that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, gosh, I think I'd like to start with seminary. Coming into seminary, I was, probably 200 pounds. My last year of college, I added a degree, and it just, I focused so hard on study that I was sitting down all the time, just focusing on my homework and just doing really well academically. But my health was just struggling, and to be honest, my faith was struggling too. Because even though I had added a biblical literature degree and I was working really hard towards that, I just was stagnant in my faith, just because I didn't have any community, I didn't have any accountability, and I felt like, I didn't see it at the time, but looking back, my physical health and my spiritual health were really interconnected during that time, and I kind of looked outwardly how I felt inwardly, and that just wasn't something I even noticed until now, looking back and just seeing the condition I was in. But when I came to seminary, God began to really just change my heart about the church, about people, just blessing me to understand the gift of community. And it took me a while to learn that, that lesson, but it just, learning that people are a gift and a blessing, and that they are just as scared of talking to me as I was of them. That people are just really worth getting to know. And if I just stayed in my own little bubble, my own little world the whole time, I was gonna miss out on some amazing opportunities to know some pretty cool people. So it was probably around then where I started becoming intentional with people. And it was, I think, halfway through my seminary career where, I was so focused on academics. I was really focused on trying to excel and hopefully someday move on and get a PhD. And I just neglected everything else, except that I was growing and I was leaning into God and just beginning to beginning to experience the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And as I was leaning into that and learning more about God, I wanted him even more. I wanted a deeper relationship with him, and I felt like I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I got really upset about it. I remember I was journaling in my prayer journal one day, and I was like, Lord, I don't typically prayer journal. Yeah. I don't typically get mad at you and then write you a letter. but here it goes. I just feel so stuck and hopeless, and I want to get out of the place that I was in, and I was so stuck that I was just I don't know how to say this part, but when God becomes purely something that is head knowledge, heart and body and spirit all kind of just go by the wayside. Yeah. And if you're not in a community that you are willing to be vulnerable with, then you try to deal with those things on your own. You convince yourself that you can. Yeah. That like you will fix yourself, you will fix your faith by your strength and power. You will get closer to God, and that's where I was, and it was a really unhealthy place. Yeah. And it led to me needing to cope and turning to some honestly very sinful things in order to cope. Yeah. So I was kind of stuck in this cycle of I would get really down on myself, and then I would need to feel better, and then I would sin to try and fix it. And then I would feel even worse because it's like, well, now I have created this rift between God and I, and it just makes it worse. And then I would repent and say, Lord, please forgive me. I won't do this again. I'm all in. Yeah. And then I would do it all over again. Yeah. And so it was all of that led up to me journaling and saying, God, like, I'm stuck. And I just now realized I've been trying to do this in my own power, and it takes you. Yeah. It takes you to get me out of this. And I had gained so much weight since coming to seminary. I was at my highest up to 238, and that just, I didn't see it. To be completely honest, I didn't see it. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like having my picture taken. I never wore anything without long sleeves. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. But I didn't feel good about myself, but I didn't think that there was anything wrong with where my body was at. Like, I didn't think of myself as unhealthy. Yeah. But coming to that place of just giving it over to the Lord and saying, Lord, I'm done. I am done doing this by myself in my own strength. I need you. And as it happened, so that was the beginning of January, and I was taking a J term called Christian Leadership Identity.
Okay, was that 2021?
It was 2020.
2020.
Yeah,
okay.
2020. I was taking Christian Leadership Identity, and that class, it challenges you to think of yourself as a steward of everything that you have, of stewarding your money, stewarding your time, stewarding your body. Yeah. And I just had never thought of my body as not being mine. But in truth, it's God's. If Jesus is Lord, and he is, then my body is his, and I am just the steward. Yes. It's just a gift that I have for the present moment, and what I do with it doesn't just affect me, it's his. So that kind of changed my perspective. Yeah. And it led me into seeking for mentorship, seeking community that I could just be vulnerable with. Yeah. And vulnerability was the key that I was not willing to budge on up until that point. Yeah. That's
so hard to do too. Like, I was just having a conversation with someone about vulnerability, like how we always talk about it, but actually doing it is a different story. So it takes a lot of like strength and courage to be able to do that. But that also is a testament to know that you were trusting God with that to give you the strength and to, yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
I had come to the end of my
Yeah.
rope,
Yeah.
so it was like I
Yeah.
have only
Yeah.
these two choices: continue going down this path
Yeah.
or trust in God.
Yeah.
But that's my next point actually
Yeah.
is in that class we had to read a book called The Cure,
Yeah.
and in The Cure, there's a guy in like the first chapter. He comes to a fork in the road and he has to choose between pleasing God or trusting God, and the whole rest of the book is just fleshing out those decisions.
Yeah.
But I had decided at the beginning of that book, like, oh man, of course you should go down the pleasing God path, because that's what I would pick, and that's what the guy in the story picked, and it was a disaster.
Wow.
And he found out that if you try starting with pleasing God, you're never going to get to that place of trust and of vulnerability. But if you start with trusting God, that starts with vulnerability. That starts with doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
And the byproduct of trust is pleasing God.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And so I stepped out on a limb and was like, okay, I need a mentor. I need somebody who is going to bring me along and who is going to speak the truth that I need to hear, whether I want to hear it or not. And I need to be able to tell somebody about what I've been going through, what I've been struggling with. And I just need somebody I can be honest with.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, he delivered me from that sin that I was struggling with. He delivered me from that kind of place of loneliness and depression, of just feeling so isolated and far from him. And that began with just learning to trust, learning to step out in faith and just say, okay, God, not mine, yours. Which, again, all of this leads up to the start of the fitness journey.
No, that's good. I think it's good. Like I like to hear all of that. So I think other people would like to hear it as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
When I reached out to someone I thought would be a really great mentor, I reached out to Robin, who was somebody I worked with, and she showed me such love in a way I had never known before, and just showed me value whether I felt like I deserved it or not. And I told her, Robin, I am thinking about getting into personal training or doing something because I've been trying to get healthy on my own, and I've just gotten stuck. And so on my own, I had been able to lose what I had gained at seminary. So I was back down in the 200 range, and I just got stuck there. And it was funny because like where I was spiritually was also stuck there.
Wow.
They just mirror each other the entire journey.
Yeah.
But I was stuck in both of these places, and so I told her about it, and she was like, well, what's holding you back? What's stopping you? And I was like, well, financially, I can't afford a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, let me see what I can do about that. And she got me a scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she got
I love that.
Yeah. She got me a scholarship for 10 sessions.
Wow.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible. But the next part is the big kicker for me. I still look back and laugh. There was only one female trainer on staff at that point, and there were 2 male trainers. And I was like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. That's how I think too. I'm like,
I'm going with the girl.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But she came up to me and she was like, hey, Rachel, you've got the scholarship no matter what you decide, but I feel like you need to consider Davy as your trainer.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. And she's like, I feel like something spiritual might happen. And that, to date, is still the understatement of my life.
Wow.
Just, she had said that, and I was like, okay, I'll pray about it.
Sure.
And I went home, and I prayed about it. I was prayer journaling again, because I started doing that ever since my first angry conversation with God. I never stopped.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Lord, well, here's the options that I said that I'd pray about. Which of these would be pleasing you more?
Yeah.
And then I stopped dead in my tracks and was like, oh, which of these is pleasing you more? That's the wrong question.
Yeah, I know.
I have to ask which one would be trusting you more.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Oh, you're like, oh.
no.
Story of my life.
Yeah. And so I picked Davy, and I went into Robin's office to tell her, and I was like, okay, Robin, I will train with Davy, but I want it understood the only reason that I am picking Davy and trusting him is because you trust him.
Yes.
And that is it.
Wow.
And then I guess the rest is history with him. Like, I started training with him, and he just, his soul was open to mine, and mine was just like, I'm an Enneagram 8, which is the challenger.
Okay.
And so my like coping mechanism is either be like kind of bully people into like getting what I want done, or just be incredibly blunt and expect them to deal.
Yeah.
And so when I went down there, I was like, okay, this is everything that I want to. These are my goals. These are my plans. This is what I've been doing. These are what I'm struggling with. And this is exactly how much I weigh. What are you going to do about it?
I was like,
oh, gosh. It was so dumb. But Davey was so gracious with me. He was just, he looked at me and he listened to me and he was like, okay, I'm glad you've got some goals. Let's get started. Yeah. And I was just like, who is this guy? He's not intimidated by my like bluntness or anything. He's just rolling with it. Yeah. And so it was through working with him and just being under his guidance and training that I really began to see how connected our spirit is to our body. Yeah. Like every time that we'd be training, he would be practically preaching as I'm going.
Like, wow. Yeah.
I would be like working out and just sweating and being completely disgusting. Yeah. And he would just say something and I would just be like having this spiritual revelation while I'm dripping with sweat. I remember a couple specifics that were life-changing for me. I was doing like the lat pull down where you're grabbing the bar and you're pulling it down to your chest, and then he asked me to hold it there. And he's like, resist me, and all he does is extend one finger, and he like pushes on the bar with one finger, and it suddenly became almost impossible to hold. I was like, wow. No one should be able to exert that much force with one finger. And he's like, yeah, now just imagine the finger of God. And I was like,
oh my God.
That's a great analogy. Like, what? Comes up with this.
Oh yeah. It just kind of like pours out of him the entire time. But and I was like, well, Davey, gosh, that makes me think of like when Moses has to hold that rod before the battle in order to keep things happening the way they're supposed to happen. And he's like, yeah, Rachel, you're supposed to hold a position, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable. But just remember, even Moses needed community to come around him and hold his arms up to support him. And I was like,
y'all take notes.
Community is key. But that was just that was like a little sneak peek into what it looked like to train with him. Yeah. Just constantly being fed spiritually and pushed physically. And I mean, it really works the whole person of, your mental and emotional health is being challenged in there too, and strengthened and just refined, really. Yeah. And so through that, I just, I learned how to take care of my body. I learned how to develop goals for myself of what I wanted to shoot for with my body and with where I was going from there. Learned how to eat well, and why to eat, and just what to eat. And finally I'm down to a healthy weight, but I'm that weight loss or a certain number isn't really my goal. It was a really great byproduct
Yeah.
of what I was shooting for, and what
Yeah.
I was shooting for was just good stewardship.
That's great.
And now I've got all these goals, and I feel like they're all just set on trying to honor and glorify God with the body He's given me.
Yeah.
Because we are incredible, like, creatures. We're able to do so much more than we give ourselves credit for.
Oh yeah. So you were talking about food a little bit on the end. That's kind of like where I wanted to go into next. And you know, this might have the same amount of calories as this. Let's say an avocado versus a donut. You know, like let's say these have the same calories. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, but this avocado is not the same as this donut. There is a difference. Because I've been watching like so many videos about just the different effects that different types of food can have on you, especially like sugar, high, ultra processed types of food. So if you just want to talk a little bit about just how you view food and just kind of like where you are with that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Food has been a journey in and of itself.
Yeah.
Before I was training and doing anything real serious, I was just trying to make some healthier choices.
Yeah.
I was trying to eat more lean meat and less processed stuff. I was trying to incorporate vegetables back into my diet, just because for a while there, you know, you just get so focused on having a quick meal that you get something that you can like pop in the microwave or whatever, and you kind of forget about vegetables.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, oh, I don't have anything green on here.
Yeah. So that's kind of on my own where I had gone.
Yeah.
And then when I started training with Davey, he had put me onto this, he'd given me this list of like foods of things that were really good for you. And he didn't say things that like were really bad for you. He just said like these things are really good for you. And like this is some stuff that you can be eating that will help your process. And so I kind of cold turkey quit doing what I was doing and just jumped into what he had me doing. And I kind of tricked myself on accident into doing that.
Okay.
He was like, okay, just do this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'll do something else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, 2 weeks. I can do anything
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. So I thought I was like, just like cleansing my body or something, and then going to be moving on to whatever else he had.
Yeah.
And so I started following this plan of, I mean, it's not really even a plan, but just doing this list of these are good things for my body, trying to make sure I was eating at regular times throughout the day, just because, you know, you're in school and you've got work, and so usually I just kind of ate where I could, but the idea of eating like more frequently, just I was like, this is not gonna happen. So it took a lot of intentionality of like pre-preparing my meals, and then being able to bring them with me and just heat them up at different places. And so it was a lot of just lean meat and vegetables. Mostly I just had like chicken and broccoli almost all the time.
Are you somebody that can like eat the same thing like all the time?
I can if I like just switch things up. Even in seasoning or something, like I can do that, but I don't recommend.
See, I'm somebody that can like eat the same thing for like 2 weeks. Like it's just so weird, and then I get tired of it, and then I'm like, okay, let's go to the next thing. So I think sometimes it's a benefit, but then sometimes it's like, okay, I need to switch.
I think with the way I was doing it then, it was like I would just put all this chicken in a crock pot and cook it. So it was like chicken every meal, and then vegetables, I would try and get different vegetables, but it was primarily like just chicken and broccoli. So it was just like, but I was still trying to figure things out. And then as I started getting more comfortable with that, branching out and having things like fish and trying new dishes and getting a little bit more exotic with what I was eating. But after the 2 weeks had ended, he's like, okay, now we're going to talk about carbs.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't had any carbs in 2
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. You're like, ooh.
Yeah, so he incorporated like having carbs
Yeah.
as like a meal. Like you had
Yeah.
a carb meal rather
Yeah.
than like having it sprinkled throughout the week.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, that's what's changing? We're only changing this one thing? So when I went cold turkey onto this healthy eating thing way back when, I just never stopped because
That's awesome.
like it's changed. It's definitely
Yeah.
changed. Like I'm vegan now. I don't eat chicken or fish or any of it, but it's gone through its changes.
Yeah.
But I just have never like gone back to what I was doing then, just because it was like, if this is stuff that helps me, I'm gonna lean towards just having stuff that's helpful.
Yeah.
And I think for my view of food, I see food as fuel. Instead of looking at food as like, oh gosh, this is gonna taste great. Like, you know, I still enjoy food. It's important to be able to enjoy what you're eating.
Yeah.
But I think more in terms of like, you know, if I am eating whatever I'm eating, is this thing going to sustain me? Is it going to keep me full for any length of time? Is it going to be healthy for me? Is it going to give me the energy I need to accomplish my goals? So it's basically just you know, stewardship of your energy.
Yeah. I was
Like,
thinking that like it's stewardship. Yeah.
You just basically like weighing what it is that you're consuming in the lens of like, okay, so what does this do? The answer would just be, you know, it would make me tired.
Yeah.
Because of all the sugar that's in it, it would hit my system and I would just have a burst of energy, but it wouldn't last very long, and then I would just be kind of like, you know, just after that. And then everything that wasn't used would go into storage.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of storage. I mean, that's, I'm not going to break down all the parts of it. But whereas if I have planned out and I know what I'm going to be doing, or at least a general idea of what I'm going to be doing and what I need to fuel for, then I can know how I want to eat. And so, you know, having a idea of when I'm working out and what I want to do during that workout helps inform how I want to eat the day before. And so I can pick things that would be helpful, you know, making sure I'm getting enough protein in my system, making sure I'm eating enough healthy fats like avocados and things like that. Just seeing food in the frame as like fuel, as opposed to like, oh gosh, this would taste good in this moment and that will taste good later. You know, just thinking about food in that context just lends itself to, you're thinking about one moment, not the rest of the day. You're not thinking about the rest of even the week. You're just thinking about what I'm going to eat right now, how is it going to sustain me right now, and just seeing it through a different lens of realizing that the food that you eat really does impact more than just that one moment of hunger, because being hungry is not the only thing that you're trying to do, like to combat when you're eating. So.
Yeah, that's so good. Like, I think I'm also getting to that place. It's like I started like journaling, like how I feel after I eat certain things. It's just been super helpful. Like you said, like doing the carbs on a certain day, and then like how I feel the next day, like when like I'll do group power or something like that. I feel like, man, like I can put an extra weight on here. And like people in class are like, oh, you're adding more weight today. I'm like, yeah, I feel good today. You know, and just like noticing those different patterns has just been really helpful. And like you said, sugar, it just makes me so sleepy. And it's like, again, I get like super like focused on something like when I'm learning about it, and I'm just like reading about like sugar and how like it even like your brain doesn't like register that you've actually eaten a lot. Like it's like I need more food, you know, even though I've just had like all of this, why am I still hungry? And so yeah, that's always just been like super interesting to me, and just to hear other people say the same thing. Like I heard one woman, she was like, I just ate this, and she's like, I feel like my stomach is full but I'm still hungry. Like, you know, like it was just like a weird, yeah. So I definitely get that, and thank you for sharing that. Like I felt like it's helpful for us to hear like about how you can have a healthy understanding, healthy relationship with food, because that's so important. And like you said, it's important to like enjoy your food.
Yes.
Because for me, if it's miserable every day, it's not gonna be something that's probably sustainable.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
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 So just finding out like, and even like you said, starting with those little lifestyle changes can be super helpful. And that's, I applaud you for like going cold turkey. I'm a cold turkey kind of person. Like I'm just like, let's just get rid of it, because I feel like I just kind of drag it out when it's like little by little. But everybody's different. But that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
How do you navigate your social events? So that's been something that I am struggling with just a little bit. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I didn't realize how embedded food is to our social lives.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
It is. Yeah.
Honestly, it's just a really awkward
Yeah.
dance. It's a really awkward dance.
Yeah.
Because I have to come to the realization that if people are going out and they're eating, you know, pizza or something, I either have to bring my own food or I have to order something else and not be like everybody else.
Yeah.
But they don't wear what I'm eating,
Yeah.
you know, and I do.
Yeah.
So what I eat is going to impact me and not them, and so I have to make that choice of do I choose trying to make everybody else like happy in a moment, or do I choose to steward myself well and to basically honor and glorify God with the choice that I'm making, even if everybody else is making a different one.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, that
Yeah.
even though putting it in that and putting it in those words makes it sound like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because it just you are like surrounded by people who are like, you're not eating this.
Right.
Oh gosh, you're no fun.
Yeah. I've gotten that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they try to tell you, well, it's only such and such, or it's not that bad for you, or you know, whatever their reasoning is, and you have to stick to your guns. You have to just say, well, thanks, but no thanks. A tactic that I like at, like, if you're going to a party,
Okay.
or you're going to some kind of event where everybody's going to be standing around talking to each other and everybody's grabbing a plate of food and there's nothing you can eat,
Yeah.
always have a drink in your hand.
Oh,
Always have a drink in your hand.
that's good.
Whether it's water or tea or coffee or whatever it is that you drink.
Yeah.
Always have a drink in your hand, and people will all of a sudden be totally okay with you not eating whatever food because you're drinking something.
They're like, oh, maybe she already ate. Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or, you know, you can say, well, you know, maybe I'll get to that later, or something, you know, just politely, like, you know, say that you'll look at the food later.
Yeah.
And that way you're not committing to eating it later.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
just
going to look at it.
I love that.
Well, that way, you know, you're not being dishonest. You can go and look and see, is there anything I can eat?
That's good. Yeah.
But, you know, that way you are partaking of whatever is there, like water or something.
Yeah.
But it just, you know, that's, having a drink in your hand really is my, like, my top secret for surviving parties.
I love that. I think now that you say that, I am just thinking back on the times like where I have been at different things and where I have, like you said, been drinking something. I'm like, yeah, I do feel like it's just been kind of different when I have been. So That is really interesting. So yeah, there are definitely ways that you can still be social, that you can still fellowship with people if you're trying to, do a certain lifestyle change or something like that. So I think that's just, again, really important to just kind of know some tips and tricks because it can be super hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Last hint.
Yeah.
And that is when you're going out with people and they say, well, this is where we're going, you can always look at the menu ahead of time.
Yes.
And that way you're not standing there like staring at it.
What am I gonna have?
Look it up ahead of time.
Yeah.
Or call ahead and see if they have any options that would suit you. Like for me, I'm vegan, but I don't eat sugar, so that makes fruit totally out.
Wow.
Or and if I'm not eating carbs that day either, then it's like okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not just vegan. I'm a complicated vegan. But there are places that you can go that you can have things to eat. Like if you're, if you're not vegan and you're trying to do like what I was doing before vegan, you can go places like Red Robin where they have, you can get like fish or chicken or something, and then they have bottomless broccoli.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they do bottomless fries or bottomless broccoli, and so you can just have as much broccoli as you want. And let me tell you, it's good broccoli.
I've never been there.
Yeah, well, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And as a vegan, doing what I'm doing now, like I found a taco place in Lexington that I can eat at, and everybody likes it. So
okay.
Yeah, and everybody's like, always happy when we go there. Everyone can find something that they like. So look ahead.
Yeah.
Look ahead at the menus and try and find those places that you like and that people also like.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with tacos.
Yeah. Tacos. All right. So last thing. Okay, so for anybody that's watching that is wanting to either, be intentional about their health and fitness, or someone who's already on the journey, what sort of advice would you give or encouragement would you give someone like that?
I would say stay the course and surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you. People who, whether or not they get it, that they will be on your side and they will be in your corner and back you, no matter what. Those are the people that you need to be surrounded by, because it's hard doing it by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Not impossible, but it's pretty hard doing it without having people in your corner. So surround yourself with people who will support you, who will not try and lay traps or snares for you, because it's weird. Like sometimes you try to go places with friends and they do try and like trip you up just to see if you'll trip. And I don't think they mean anything malicious by it, but it just sort of happens a lot. So just make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who care about you and respect you enough to let you make your choices. And respect yourself to make those choices. So that's the encouragement that I give, and also just seeing yourself as a temple, seeing yourself as you are God's chosen instrument, and you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. You are sacred. Your body is important.
It is.
So just treat yourself with respect and surround yourself with others who will respect you.
Amen. Well, thank you again, Rachel.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed having you on my channel. Like, this is super exciting
It
for
was
me.
fun to be here.
So I look forward to even just like seeing, like, I mean, I'll follow you on like Facebook or something like that. So even if we aren't in the same city, I'm like gonna be like, ooh, Rachel. But yeah, thank you again for being here. And I know that whoever's watching out there, I just know this was helpful. Like, I believe that it was helpful. It was helpful for me. So
good.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you got something out of this. If you have any questions or if you have any comments for Rachel, you can just comment down in the comments, and you can like and subscribe if you like this video. And I will see you all in the next one.